Well, my name is Stephen Johnson. I am the last born of 7 children, and I was born in Burundi, East Africa, and I grew up my whole life in Tanzania and Kenya. My parents are teachers. My dad is a Bible teacher, and my mom, she just homeschooled us until 7th grade, and then I went off to boarding school in Kenya. My parents have a huge tradition of being in Africa. My grandparents were both there. My dad was born in Burundi, my mom was born in Congo, and they both grew up there, so it's home for me. Africa is definitely home. Going to the States for college was a huge shift. It was not easy, and in fact, I experienced some culture shock. America is very fast-paced, and I was used to a more chill environment, which I prefer. So I love being back in Libya, or being back here in Africa. It's so nice. I have a wife and 1 child. His name is Titus. My wife's name is Kirsten. We live in Zautamani, near Nifli, and we really enjoy it being here in this country. Yeah. So the journey began when I was interested in architecture. I loved building with blocks, and as a kid I would design bridges and towers, and my parents said, "You're really good at this, you should consider pursuing architecture." So I actually really looked into pursuing architecture, and I was going to, but a lot of people said it's a very difficult profession. You have to be very artsy and original, and you have to work really hard at it. But I was good at math and science, so I pursued engineering, and I have a background in civil and environmental engineering, and I love it. It's so great. The company I'm working for as an independent contractor is called HT Engineering. You can see it here on my shirt, the logo. They specialize in the transportation of petroleum products, so gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, diluent, kerosene. And so I'm specialized in design. I'm called a project engineer, and I do a lot of CAD work, which is 3D modeling, and then I do some project management as well. So the journey has been joining that company, HT Engineering, and that company having a desire to reach and open a field in Libya and partner with some Libyan oil companies, so that's why I'm here. Great question to ask. My biggest failure is probably when I tried to make it on my own in college and not reach out to people for help. I think that was my biggest failure, and the first year and a half I really struggled in college because of that. If I could have gotten over my pride and been humble and gone and asked other people for help, I really think that would have made a big difference in my life. I was able to recover, thankfully, but it took a long time, and there were some really tough experiences in college. So the lesson learned is be humble and ask for help. I would say you need to, again, be humble, ask people for advice, and then listen and follow through with what you've decided to do. Don't go and start something and then stop it. So I think the biggest thing for me was actually moving and making sure that I didn't stay stagnant. So I definitely have to say my father-in-law, Jeff. He has been a huge influence in my life. He is a very godly man. He loves people, and he is very smart. So he's really good at business. He has some very successful travel agencies and other companies, and I want to just learn from him. He has helped me grow and become a better person, and he obviously has given me permission to marry his daughter, which is a huge thing as well. So. Another one who has influenced me is definitely, I have to say, one of my mentors in Grand Rapids, Michigan. His name is Tom Felton. Every Wednesday morning we eat breakfast together and talk through life. He had a huge influence on my life. He helped me see that life is more than just about yourself. You have to reach out and love other people, and that way you can change the world. And then the third person who's been a big influence in my life is my father, and just how dedicated he is, how he loves my mother, how he is a great example to us children, how he raised 7 kids, and all of them are upstanding, married, they all have kids, and they all have pursued various careers, and we're still very close as a family, so I have to say my father is the third one. Yeah, it's a kind of a silly one, but we were at the beach in September, and the owner of one of the beaches, it was by Matiga, had a brand new 2019 Yamaha jet ski, and Jeff knew him, and so we were able to drive that, and that was my favorite experience. Flying over the waves at like 45 kilometers, it was really cool. Yeah. I definitely think it's hard. I wouldn't say Libya is a brand new culture because I grew up in East Africa. Now I know there's drastic differences between the two cultures. I think you need to be very open and willing to try new things. Adventurous comes to mind, because if you stay in your shell, stay home, you'll never learn anything. So I think it's getting up, getting into gear and going and actually doing things and being adventurous, and then being willing to learn, be a lifelong learner. It's very important. Well, I'm not very good at a lot of things, but some of the things I'm not very good at, let's see. I'm not very good at public speaking. Speaking in front of people, it's not very easy for me. Another thing I'm not very good at is getting to places on time. Because of where I grew up, I usually am 5 to 10 minutes late to everything. So that is something I'm not very good at as well. And then maybe a third one I'm not very good at is baking food. I'm not very good at baking. Yeah, so lots of things make me feel inspired. That's a great question though. The Mediterranean Sea is one of them. I love the water. I grew up on a huge lake, so whenever I see that in the waves, it just fills me with inspiration, and I really want to get out there and get on the lake or the sea here. Another thing that makes me feel inspired is when you see new growth in people. When someone is starting to change, it's really exciting. For my son is a big one. That's such an inspiration when he learns to connect things in his mind. It's really, really cool to see that spark go off in his mind. Being ridiculously human means to me that you are flawed. I guess in Western terminology we would say sinful. Like, to be ridiculously human is to make mistakes, in my opinion. And you kind of have to live with that. And there are ways to get better at things, but you have to know that you're gonna mess up at some point. So I'm just thankful for people in my life, for God, who accept me even with my mistakes. I think the most important thing I learned in my life is to listen to people. Before I learned that lesson of listening to people, I would talk a lot. I would kind of run over people. I wouldn't wait and stop to hear their story. I just kind of would tell them my story and then move on. That's not a great way to live life. So after I learned how to listen to people, I had developed a lot more deeper friendships. Ones where I could talk to people and then hear their side of the story. Really helps to connect with people when you can do that. The best tip for making the world a better place is to be content where you are and work hard at what you do and what God's given you to do. So for me, I'm doing engineering. That's where God wants me to be. So I need to work hard and be content where I'm at. The best compliment I've ever received is probably that, this is a very tough one. Maybe one I've received that I really treasure, it might not be the best compliment I've ever received, was in high school. I used to sing a lot, and one of my teachers said, "Whenever I hear you, it makes me happy." And so I like bringing joy to people. Yeah, so I'd have to say I'd want to have dinner with, oh man, there's so many options.
Only three.
Maybe Einstein. He's a great creator and very smart guy. It'd be really cool to pick his brain and figure out kind of where some of his ideas came. Same with Leonardo da Vinci. And then, honestly, I think it'd be really cool to grab a meal with Jesus, because that'd be really cool to kind of figure out what his life is like. So, I am more of a hunter. I think I seek out opportunities, I seek out people rather than just staying on the sidelines and gathering. Yeah. All right. Well, at first I thought I would be green because that's my favorite color, but that's kind of a lame answer, yeah? So I think I would be maybe something like orange. I like that color, it's vibrant, and it makes people happy usually when they see something orange. Like when you see a car or someone with a really bright orange t-shirt, it makes people happy, so. So I was born in 1995, so I don't really have very many 90s jams, but there's some Michael Jackson songs. I think he was from the 90s. Yeah. I don't know. I'm definitely a cat person. I don't like dogs. I used to be a night owl. I'm trying to be a morning person. It's difficult for me, but I would love to wake up earlier and go to bed sooner. Yeah. I think so. I think ignorance is destructive, actually. I think we can be ignorant of things and we think it doesn't affect us, but in reality it does. So for instance, if I am ignorant that my face has some chocolate on it and it looks bad, or I have food in my beard, I can be fine, but I'm going to be embarrassed when I find out when I look in the mirror. So I would rather someone tell me right away, hey, you have something in your beard. Then I can take it out and then I can go around the rest of my day.
So it's better to know.
Better to know. The first time I heard about Libya was in 9th grade in high school. I was reading in my Bible in Isaiah, and Libya is in there in Isaiah 66 verse 19. And that's when it first sparked interest in me. So Libya, because 3 reasons. I have a background in petroleum engineering, and Libya is an oil-rich country, so we're hoping to connect with some clients here. 2, I'm close to family. It's nice to be with my wife's parents, and my son can grow up with his grandparents. And then 3, I really feel like this is where God wants me to be, so I have to obey him, right? Favorite Libyan food is, okay, I hope it's Libyan. It's the couscous here. I really like that. Yeah, I know there's some Moroccan couscous, but I like the Libyan couscous. Yeah, so we were able to visit the Roman ruins at, yes, Lyptus Magna. That was really cool. I visited in 2016, and it was amazing to see the Colosseum and the huge arch and the Roman roads. And we actually got to visit a Roman villa that still had tiling in the rooms. It was really cool. The language, I have to say, we're trying to learn. We do an hour of tutoring every day, but it's difficult to not be able to understand.
Yeah. How long have you been here?
Just 2 months.
Oh,
like a month and a half, yeah.
Yeah, it's still half time.
Yeah.
You'll catch up.
This will be my 3rd language, so it shouldn't be as hard to learn. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. My son is a magnet for people. They love him. He has really big cheeks and very happy kid, so it's really cool. I love how people are so friendly to their neighbors, and they love to invite us into their house, and it's really great. So I love having a family here. Yeah. I've not. My wife has. She said it was a really great experience. Pretty crazy. Yeah, we go to Souk Mahari quite a bit, and then we have a dukan close to our house, and then the bakery, and then butchery. So it's easy. I find everything. We found American candy that we don't miss that much, but it's nice to have sometimes. Yeah, the clothes is all here. Adidas, Nike. So it's really not difficult. Yeah. I would say that I miss. There's a restaurant in America called Red Robin that does hamburgers and French fries, and they have a shake, or it's called a root beer float, but it's this tall, and it has ice cream and something called root beer, which is non-alcoholic soda, and it's refillable, so you drink one, they bring you another one. I miss that. That was nice to have. So I'm learning it on a daily basis. I know Kiswahili from East Africa, and there's a tiny bit of overlap, like maybe 7 or 8%. So I always am happy when I find words that are the same. Yeah, so we have a small car, Hyundai Matrix. We zoom around. I like it. It's a little scary sometimes. The traffic's pretty crazy. There's not very many traffic rules, but you learn. You just give a little bit, take a little bit. Yeah, we get around. Not super familiar with all the Libyan brands. I like Schnabo. So Schnabo is a great sandwich place. Their special, which is the chicken shawarma with the cheese and the french fries. It's really good.
Yeah.
I miss, there's some of the food, like the restaurant chains in America that I miss. Other than that, I don't really miss very many brands in America. I felt like there was a lot of stuff that was familiar. And that might have been because I grew up in East Africa, but time being a little more fluid here is something that was very familiar to me. Some of the food was familiar because I had eaten some Libyan food before in America. And then some of the other stuff that was familiar was like surprising things, like seeing a lot of Nike and Adidas and seeing a lot of the cars I see in America. And that was kind of cool to see. Yeah, so a lot of my friends in the States, when they heard I was going to Libya, said, "You're going to get shot." So I want to debunk that myth. I have not been shot yet. So we will see. Hopefully I don't get shot. But we live in a pretty safe area of town, and we always monitor, the violence and the conflict that's happening. But so far, we've just met really kind people, and we've had a great experience in Libya. So I want to debunk that myth. Yeah. I would have asked myself, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I know I said the future, who knows about the future, but in 5 years I see myself connecting with some Libyan oil companies and doing jobs for them, and I see my family growing, being bigger. I see people being more open to Libya. I hope that we can show people in America and other places that Libya is a great country and not to be feared. I'm on LinkedIn. You can connect with me there. My name is Steven Johnson, Steven. We'll put the link on so you can find it.